Life of Love
Life of Love.
with Joy Hilsen.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome to Life of Love, where we gather to explore our curious minds to see what our life of love looks like today. So I'm just so happy to have your ears. Thank you for tuning in and sharing these messages. I know that when we can spark curiosity in our hearts and live in our joy, it adds to this light grid that's surrounding this earth, and it makes a difference. No amount of curiosity and joy is too small. So let's try to find that today as best as we can. We're all dealing with old man winter on our backs right now. So, unless you're halfway around the world, but my part of the world is very cold. So thanks for huddling up, and maybe you can share a cup of tea and we can relax and have some girl time. So I'm really excited to bring forth today's message. Our guest is an adventurer, a writer. She's an explorer, and she is all about helping people reach their joy and sharing how she's arrived at it, and supporting people who want to trust and go deep into their ability to be confident, be self-sustaining, and explore whatever they want to explore. So her metaphor is the wilderness, but yours could be something totally different. So I hope you can take this and use it for your highest good. I'm just gonna get settled in my space. And as you know, if you welcome new listeners, I set forth an intention. And my old listeners, you're used to me doing this, but I'm just gonna center in my heart and ground my feet into dear Mother Earth. Thank you, God, Goddess, Universe, for bringing me to this space, for the resources needed to bring forth this message and collaborate. I thank every synchronicity and blessing that came together to bring us together to this moment. And Miss Belinda is such a gift. I'm so happy to have her. And I invite her team, her angelics, the elementals that are with her on her adventures. If they wish to collaborate with my team, I invite that in to create this space. And I hold this, and it's a beautiful, wonderful space that we're helping to make. And I'm asking for a message for the highest good for each listener to be supported and loved and held, and knowing that they're safe and they are held, and we're all held. And I ask that there'll be small signs and synchronicities to let people know that they're held and Mother Nature is close. And yes, this is so thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so honored to be here right now, and I look forward to the messages that are coming through for us and through us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This peace just came over me when I started thinking about what we're going to do today.
Okay.
Everyone, Linda Coker is. Let's get right into it because I'm so excited and we have so much to share. The main thing that we said we wanted to talk about was, midlife and this juicy place of transition. And I want to call it juicy because all of a sudden we can look at ourselves. So let's start there, that this precipice of not being here to take care of everyone else so much, but having a lens to look at ourselves, and how your experience in the wilderness and reclaiming adventure helped you with that transition. Just is such a great story.
Absolutely. And before I start, Julie, thank you so much for having me on the show. Again, what a beautiful introduction. I feel at peace. I'm just like, do I need to talk? Can I just sit here and listen? So, yes, midlife is a very interesting time. I mean, it is such a complex time. We are, our wisdom and our experience, everything is just so much more larger than it was when we were in our 40s and life was just racing and when we were younger we knew it all. We were just the world heroes, and it's quite funny when you do actually sit back and take and reminisce and really have a look and explore where you're at the moment. And I actually did that in 2020. So it was during the pandemic. Whether or not it was because lots of people sort of got to that stage during the pandemic, but I think it's really important that people do this quite often. It was kind of like forced upon us during the pandemic to take a good look at ourselves. But my children we were discussing briefly about when you and your mother, there might be certain seasons of motherhood where you're just like, oh, this is hard work. You might have a 13-year-old, you might have someone who's this or someone who's that. You might have a toddler, I was usually pretty good at taming toddlers in the supermarket, but sometimes you just have a wild child, and sometimes certain seasons of motherhood can be quite difficult. And I'm not saying that at the time my season of motherhood was difficult, but I felt spent. So I was really involved with my work. I was a single mother. I had 3 children. They were all at home. One was university, and the other 2 were the last 2 years in high school. They're only a year apart. And I can remember just feeling spent, just looking at myself. I mean, yes, I was doing yoga, but I would turn up on the mat and I wasn't really present. My mind would be thinking about a zillion other things. I probably wasn't eating as well as I should be. I was, instead of trying to ground myself in other ways, I would go, okay, so it's after work, a glass of wine time, and yes, glass of wine
Mhm.
time's good, but it's not when it's used as a crutch. And no, I wouldn't call myself an alcoholic, but I wasn't taking charge of my life. And sometimes when you're hit with so many things for an extended period of time. And that might be also, the repercussions of a not a nice divorce, all sorts of things.
Mhm.
You might have bereavement, you might have all sorts of things going on, and compounded, everything can at some stage feel too much. And that's how I felt. So it was kind of like a bit of a burnout. And I took a long look at myself and I thought, I really need to do something. I was 55 at the time. I turned 60 on the trail. I was going to keep on saying last month, and then I'll go, gosh, is that 3 months gone already? And it's one of those real turning points. The menopause was kind of over, and it was almost like I didn't really have an excuse anymore. And I looked at myself and I thought, you really need to change, or something needs to change. When you've got kids in those last couple of years of high school, yes, they're needy for certain things, but they still want to be driven around if they haven't got their learner license, and or their P plates, their license. But they're still looking at you as if to say, I just need you for the food and the transport and that. And apart from that, I've got it all. I've got it so sorted. So I wasn't feeling needed. And yeah, and that was a big thing. So I hadn't hiked for about 35 years. I was born in New Zealand, 10,000 hiking trails in New Zealand. If anyone's interested, some of the most wonderful hiking in the world. Got loads of information on it on my blog, Soul Trader. And I joined a meetup group and I went for a hike. And I went for a hike. I was the youngest person on this hike. Wasn't a long hike. It was 17 kilometers, maybe about 12, 13 miles, but it was down a deep gully and up the other side. And everyone else in the group was 70 or 80 years old. And they were fit and they were young and they were vibrant and they had this energy. And I looked at them and I thought, I want that. I want that. I want what you've got, and
Youth.
yeah,
They were
yes,
They're
This
climbing up the ridge and you were like the youngest one, but you didn't feel
I
like you were the youngest one.
I was huffing and puffing behind them, and I felt like the kid on the side of, sitting on the, what do you call them in America, the bleachers, the seats on the side. I felt like that kid, I really was. But the thing was, is it was a hike in the beautiful rainforest, and this rainforest was kind of it had Avatar vibes. It was just beautiful. It was emerald green, dripping with water, vines, and, it was beautiful. The odd snake coming out, and, and so it was, and that was what really got me. I got home and I just felt renewed. It was just that whole concept of being outside, and just, it was like the rainforest was a giant sponge, and it had soaked up all my stresses, all my anxieties, all my negative thoughts. And, I just got home and I just thought, wow, I just feel amazing, far better than, if I go and do a hot yoga class or a walk along the beach or whatever. It was something entirely different. Yeah. So that was the start of my journey.
It's so beautiful. And that whole idea that you took that time and it was in your native land in New Zealand, which is on my bucket list. I so want to go, especially after seeing your blog. I mean, it's just like, it's amazing. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that wilderness effect of, I love how you said it was like a sponge taking the
Yeah.
negativity. But it's true. And I have actually two friends that I hike with, and both of them, they get communication from trees. And I don't think it's a coincidence. And they don't know each other. It's
Right.
not like we joined a meetup group, let's talk to trees. But both of them have shared messages that they've gotten from the trees with me.
Mm,
And I just want to hold space for the idea that nature communes with us.
mm,
And it might not be with our words that we use our left side of our brain. It might be more our
mm,
right side of our brain,
mm.
this part of our intuition, this part of our knowingness, our connection that is so easy to push away because it's not in our face. It's subtle.
Yeah.
So is that part of the wilderness effect that you've discovered on all your travels? I mean, guys, she has a hiked the Arctic Circle. She's gone across Greenland. I mean, this isn't a hobby. This is a life. I mean, this is so inspiring.
Look, I am, whether or not it's the land talking to me, or, but I just feel this insane sense of peace. I can be hiking in the wilderness. I can be camping out by myself. I mean, I've got this great photo of my tent perched on a cliff top. I've just been hiking in the Canary Islands, which is a 500-kilometer, 350 mile trek through the Canary Islands, a group of islands off the Western Sahara of Africa. And I've got a photo of my tent perched on a cliff top in the clouds, with just surrounded by green trees and the clouds, and this huge big valley in front of me. And it was, for me, that is, it's almost like, it's transcending, to a higher place. But I do have one really interesting story to tell you. Can I do story time?
Sure, please. Yes.
So I was hiking in the Red Centre. So Australia's Red Centre. It's not red called the Red Centre because it's hot. It's called the Red Centre because it's red. It's red soil. Yes, it does get hot, but it can get quite cold in the winter. It's the desert. And the most iconic photo of the Red Centre is one that a lot of people would have seen. It's a large rock called Uluru, previously known as Ayers Rock. Right in the centre of Australia is like the heartbeat of Australia. It really is. Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, all the cities are kind of like the pretty bits, the necklace. They're just the glitzy necklace around the side, and I was on this one particular hike. It's quite a long hike, and again, probably about 250 kilometers, 170 miles. And there's one part of it called Stanley Chasm, and Stanley Chasm is just putting it into perspective. First, Australia's First Nations have been wandering the lands that they've sort of calculated that they've been wandering through the lands, for 40,000 years. I mean, that's a long time. They're one of the oldest Indigenous people in the world. And some of the gorges and the chasms on this walk, have been in use for 30, odd thousand years. And you can actually see, handprints and artwork, along some of the walls. It's pretty cool. So on this one particular place, I can't remember the Aboriginal word, but, at the Aranditi people are the traditional traditional land people of that area. And there's this one, and Sandy Chasm is for women only. So that was where women went for initiation. That was for when they were taught things. They learned medicine in that chasm. It was just amazing. It's only about 10 foot wide and about 4 stories high. So it's pretty high and narrow. And so about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I wasn't in a very good relationship at the time that I was there, and I woke up at 3 in the morning and I decided to go for a walk. And the moon it's full moon, so I didn't need a head torch. I didn't need anything. And there's a part where the men were not allowed to go any further. And I remember looking to my left and seeing big, dark rocks, like really big, dark rocks. And I just felt this really uncomfortable, like I was being judged. It was almost like a horrible feeling. And I really felt uncomfortable walking past this. And I got into the chasm, and the full moon was coming straight down. And I'll send you a photo of this. I actually took a photo. But I felt like, and I can't say how many, but, I can't put a number on it, but I felt almost like 100 women putting their arms around me and saying, "You're okay, you're okay." And just this healing spiritual feeling. And, it might have been, I can't put a number on it because you
And that piece of having the reverence for that space. I mean, I pictured a womb. I mean, it's narrow and high,
can't. Yeah.
and you're held, and that's sort of I pictured. And why? I guess it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but a lot of times that's when tries to reach us is three
Mm,
o'clock in the morning. Have you ever noticed that? There's more times than not that I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's
yeah.
not like spirit's not calling me to go wander, but
Mm,
I'll wake up and it's all quiet, and it's like I guess that's where our subconscious can try
yeah.
to reach through, or our guides might be, tapping us or giving us a hug.
Mm,
And it's not scary. Like you definitely felt this portal, like,
mm,
should I be here? Is this dangerous?
yeah.
But the sense of trust
Yeah.
kicked in. And I
Absolutely.
really would like to explore that trust, because you've really taken risks with your life. I mean, you just had hypothermia, and that idea that you're held and your instincts are going to lead you to what you need to be safe.
Mm,
But I think a lot of people have a hard time even conceiving of spending a night alone in a tent. I mean,
mm.
how did you build that trust and your self-reliance to say it's going to be okay? Like the bear's not going to come and rip away my tent, or there's not going to be a big gust that takes me out over the clouds, my tent
Yeah.
over that cliff. I mean, there could be a million phobias, right? But
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah.
said your biggest phobia is a possum,
And I'm all
like a
saying,
drum.
so
And I
yeah.
imagine there wasn't a path. It wasn't like,
No.
"Here, go this way.
Yeah.
Belinda,
And,
just walk this way." Yes, I know. I know.
mm,
It's and you have that experience to share
yeah.
and let someone else know that, even though it's off the coast of Africa, the temperature can drop, you can have rain.
Yeah.
And I started when I was reading your blog, I was like, "Oh, I never, I'll go on a day hike, but, I might bring my water bottle." and
Oh,
and I like to bring this little knife. I don't know why. I just bring a knife just in case. Just
Yeah.
makes it has a sheath and, it just empowers me that, even if I needed to cut a branch, I have a
Yeah.
utility,
Yeah.
but there's so many things that you suggested that I had not put in,
Yeah.
like even a first aid kit. I might bring a couple Band-Aids and a tissue and some
Yeah.
toilet paper just in
Yeah.
case things happen fast.
Yeah.
So what I
Every
hear you saying is you started out slow. You started out with groups. You started out, you
Yeah.
didn't camp, you didn't set up camp by yourself. You had a campground you'd go to and you planned it. And so
Mm.
that's how you built up to where you are now, where
Yeah.
you're okay solo camping. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's it's a great tip. Anything that seems scary to you, just
Mm.
take it little steps by little steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
Absolutely.
that's also that it resonates with menopause, right? Like anyone who's feeling like their body is failing, that they're sluggish, that they're slow, that life is just bearing down, or you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, my face, where did I get all these wrinkles? Like, how did this happen? Like, you
Mm.
were just 40 and things were great, and all of a sudden you're 50 something, and things are changing, and
Yeah.
you're like, what the heck's going on? But being in that feeling and trusting that feeling, like
Mm.
you feel heavy for a reason, and you also had some experience with lymphatic drainage and
Mm.
health. And so it seems to me our bodies tell us you've got to move, and the
Mm.
power of your feet hitting the earth and taking up the impact of the earth and climbing and putting that
Mm.
resistance under your body. I was just reading in a book, it says it activates hormones. Like
Mm.
growth hormones are activated when you do resistance, when you climb,
Mm.
when you
Yeah.
stress your body in a physical way, but not
Mm.
stress, but not like
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
emotional stress, just like
Yeah.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I don't have to conquer the world in one day, but that taking one step at a time
Mm.
and adding your resistance that and gaining power, it resonates so much with me in the times that, you're going through menopause and your bone density is starting to change and you notice
Yeah.
your muscles aren't as you can
Yeah.
step by step you can build that up again. What was your experience with that body neutrality and just starting where you are and getting away from the shame and the judgment and
Mm.
getting to the feeling better, the solution part? Can you give us
Yeah.
insight onto how you did that with the lymphedema? You said your partner was at the time wasn't supportive and you felt
Mm.
judged, and that's another example of thank you for the clarity. Like
Yeah.
you don't love me for who I am. So that freed up time and space for you to have other relationships, to
Yeah. Abs-
explore, to not invest in
Absolutely.
somebody who didn't deserve your time and attention. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and that's following your gut, like saying, and standing up for what your gut is saying, even if you don't even understand what
Mm.
your gut is. It's like sometimes I'll just get like this upset stomach feeling. And I know even if I can't express it verbally, I need to separate myself from the
Mm.
situation, that
Yeah.
whatever it is, the person, the
Mm.
situation. But it's taken me a lot of knocking my head into a wall when I've ignored that, and
Yeah.
the consequences of that. And it's you judge yourself like, oh, why are you so, just get over it, you're fine, and that when you diminish your gut, your instinct, and
Mm.
like you said, this everything everything comes back to your gut and it affects your mind. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, like I don't know why it takes us so long to figure these things out, or takes me
Yeah.
so long, but there is clarity in that moment of
Yeah.
rejection, and cherishing what you bring to the table,
Yeah.
and getting over this idea that your identity is in how people accept you, or
Yeah.
your identity is whatever you decided is that day. That's part of
Yeah.
living the life of dreams, is deciding your own identity. Like, don't let someone
Mm.
else tell you what your identity is.
Yeah.
And you say,
And
thank you, body, for protecting me from that
yeah.
situation. Like
Mm.
that was your body saying,
Mm.
"Okay,
Yeah.
no." Oh, and it's really fun to go back and look at times in your life that you're like, well, that did not turn out the way I
Mm,
wanted. That was
mm,
not what I expected. I was let down, but this whole other thing is available because that thing flopped.
yeah.
And
Uh,
so that comes back to trust.
Trust in the process. If something doesn't,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate all your insight into this. So I encourage anyone to go to Soul Treader, your website. I'll put a link in the show notes because it is such a beautiful site, and you can find out about what dear Belinda is doing and where she is in the world, and it's just great. It's advice, like she has that book, but also there's different topics you can look at and resources. And we haven't even talked about how you're helping with making water accessible to
yeah.
women in Africa, which is dear to my heart. I have a friend who works for a
Yeah.
nonprofit water. It's called Water is
Yeah.
Basic. And
Yeah.
they've been helping people in Africa too. So I mean, there's so much. There's so much to talk about, and I'm so happy we had this time.
Water.
Thank you so much.